About this time 5 years ago, I was this time 5 years ago I left Cochabamba and I was in La Paz, sleeping by the casetas near the Station de Tren, kind of halfway from the east end of Illampu, halfway along the road that goes up to El Alto. I can't remember the name of the district, but it was a Periférico station. Teleférica. Getting mixed up with France. I was sleeping in this plaza. It's where they sell empanadas and things in these casetas, and people got to know that I was there, and so the theatre started up. And one of the guys was a bit hardcore for my liking. He came up to me and started talking about 1 a.m. about Luis Arce's upcoming campaign, and he said well, I don't want to say anything too inflammatory, but this is just what the guy told me. He said that the economic policy that they come up with now to solve the problems was basically to start relying on cocaine money coming into the country to provide the reserves, the foreign currency reserves that they needed. He didn't explain how any of the government was ever going to get its hands on any of that. I mean, it's not like you can start taxing drug money. But listening to what's going on now with Andronico, who they call Ladronico, the guys are from Sacaba. I didn't know until a week ago that the Sacaba is where there's an illegal coca market for the coca chapareña. This is the coca, you can't chew it because it tastes like chicken shit. It's for el piso. It's for treading to make cocaine. But in Sacaba there's a market where they bring this stuff to sell. I didn't know that. There was, anyway. Maybe they've cleaned it up now. Anyway, so I heard one of the other candidates talking about the fact that they're going to get the DEA back. But hell, maybe Ava had a way of filtering money from that coca into the Banco Central. I don't know. I mean, if he did, he wouldn't have told everyone about it, would he? Especially not the EU. He was 2018. He was going through all these negotiations with the EU to carry on getting funding. There was some aid packages which were contingent on not expanding the coca production too much, but they were doubling it. It was something close to doubling it, the amount of licensed Chapari coca production, and that coca is just not for uso tradicional. So I don't know. And there was a story that the presidential plane had been impounded in the United States. I don't know if that was... I've never found any data to back that up. But it was apparently impounded because it was found to have traces of cocaine. So it looks like this election is going to be as messy as the 2019 one now. I hope not too many people get killed. It was in Sacaba that those 10 people were shot the day after I made that video calling for help. Which never arrived. Polly Boyko, what are you up to these days? Huh? Married with kids, I imagine. I hope you had fun. You could do another report. Nobody knows what's going on in Bolivia. There are a lot of different realities depending on who you are. And who you know. I just saw Kim Iverson posted her Europeans are afraid of US immigration, and the tourist trade is down 7% in the US because of the way US customs, people don't know what US customs are anymore. They seem unfriendly. And they certainly are. So I was, after her main report, she put this up as a short, because after her full length report on it on YouTube, I sent her an email explaining It's the first time I've ever written down in detail what happened to me in my 7 months process of being deported. So I think I'll post her video and my email to her. Let's see what happens. I didn't mention anything about the previous attempts I had to contact Roger Shell or anyone else who would know what it was that I'd done and published when I was in Bolivia. So maybe I'll add that. Because for a while, my father, after he sent me some money for my birthday in June 2022, I actually wanted them just to send some money to a place where I could get breakfast. I didn't want to have a big wad of money because it's very bad. And my daughter sent me £50 once, and I went to get it from the bank, and someone must have seen, because that same day I got a call from the CJNG, the Cartel Jalisco Nueva Generación, a video call, a guy in a mask. And they extorted all of that money from me. They made me go while they were talking to me, they made me go into an OXXO and buy like hundreds of Mexican pesos worth of phone credit for various numbers, which they then use to make video calls and extort money from people. It's kind of a circular economy they've got going there. So when my dad sent me, lots more than that, I was really scared. And I just spent it all in the cafe. And what I did was, I felt like I had some support. And so I told my dad what I was trying to do by email. I said, I'm trying to get in touch with these people in the US. And I thought I'd also tell him that if I can't get asylum in the United States, I'd try Canada. And he even told me about some relatives in Canada that might have been able to help. But he didn't have numbers for them and he wasn't in touch with them. So he knew that I was applying for asylum and not, but don't know, he somehow forgot, because in those 3 months while I was, 3 months, 7 months, 3 months while I was in jail, at some point he he got the impression that I'd tried to enter the US illegally and that I'd been detained for breaking some law, but I never broke any law. They ain't got nothing on me. But I'm not going back to the US. I have no plans. I saw enough of it. I wouldn't even want to go on holiday in any of those towns that I saw. I mean, it would be different walking a bit of the PCH or the PCT. PCT would be better than the PCH, wouldn't it? Get run over by some mad bitch in a Jaguar. The PCT. Would be nice. But really, there's better trails in lots of other places. Anyway, you probably have to buy a ticket a year in advance to get permission to walk that trail. Bolivia, it's not like that. That trail I posted a post today with the paper by Evans on his 1901-1902 expedition to Caupolicán, Bolivia. He went from Sorata down the valley into the Charazani, I think towards Charazani, and then Mapiri and Guanay. That was when Guanay was called Juanay, with an H. And that map has that map marks the route that I took from Apolobamba down to Apollo on it. It has both arms of that route. It's a beautiful map. So I was thinking, I often thought when I was there that I walked from La Paz to Sorata. So if I could walk from Sorata to Charazani, then I've already done Charazani to Pelechuco and Pelechuco to Apollo. So I would have walked, if I could close the gap from Sorata to Charazani, I will then have walked from La Paz to Sorata to Pelechuco to Apollo. And then if I could close the gap between Apollo and San Jose de Chupiamonas, that's an extremely difficult one though. But that's only another few days. I would have walked the whole circuit to Ruranabaki from La Paz. I talked to the people in San Jose about that route. No, they don't use it. They haven't used it for years. But that was where they were actually, the Morales administration was planning to drive a road through that to finish off the highway to Brazil. It was supposed to meet they had big plans, but the real intention, I think, behind those plans was to open up that area to gas exploration, because they knew they were running out of gas. That's why there was all that pressure on the Tipneys. They wanted the gas from there. They wanted to put roads in there, because without roads you can't do gas exploration and development. So that and the lowlands out at Ixiamas and the Parque Madidi, that was their next gas field they wanted. But they couldn't do it, and the money dried up. I can't help but agree with the people that say that Abenomics was a phenomenon that, well, maybe it was shut down by the Americans, maybe by keeping the price of gas and oil down by causing wars in the Middle East. Maybe that's, I don't think it was to get at Bolivia. That was just how they manipulated the oil price to keep the US armed forces feasibly in oil, because once it gets to $200 a barrel, that they can't afford that. Not even they can afford to run that machine. And I was walking to Ely the other day, and again I saw these tankers. Every time I walk that route I see 3 or 4 tankers, 3 or 4 of these big US in-flight refueling things coming in from the sea to land at the US base. It's fucking bullshit. Because they got to patrol the North Sea to keep Britain safe from the Russians. Fucking crap. Anyway, that's why I think the Abenomics phenomenon stopped working in 2014. They couldn't find any more gas. They couldn't develop it quickly enough. I suspect they were siphoning off a lot of it from YPF and propping up elections and things. Even if this Votonolo works and they end up with Evo back in, I really don't think he's going to be able to do it again. Unless there's a big hike in the oil price and gas. And somehow they need to get the cheap Venezuelan oil flowing again. A lot of that oil was being shipped in by sea from Venezuela up the Amazon, coming in the east, and then being sold cheap. But that Venezuelan crude is too heavy to run in. I think in just about anything you have to mix it with light oil. And that was part of the problem. So when that dried up, then they had to start paying. When Venezuela went down the pan, they had to start paying for real import prices as well. That isn't the solution for Bolivia. You've got to be a lot cleverer than just throwing money at a problem. You've got to know how to reorganize your supply chains and how to get some kind of adaptability into the system without a decent level of education. It's going to be very, very hard. That's all I got to say about that.